What's going on, everybody? It's your man Cleveland Terry, and today we're going to discuss the newly released Pioneer DJM S7. Is it all the things you've heard about and more? Let's talk about it. This is probably going to be the longest short video you've ever seen because I only have this mixer for a couple of days and then it has to go. But the good news is it's very familiar to the other mixers that we're going to discuss. So if you use the S9 or the S11, you're going to feel right at home with this mixer. For a lot of people, they're looking at this and they're saying, I don't get it. It looks just like an S9. And by the way, why are you even naming this the S7? Would it be taking 2 steps back? That's actually not the case. Now, if you're asking me why they chose the S7, I've asked and I haven't really gotten a good answer, so I'm not going to begin to speculate. I just know that this is the S7. So let's compare the 3 mixers together so we can kind of figure out exactly where the differences take place. Hopefully this is the last time I have to take this mixer out of the case. The only time I take this mixer out is for videos, and then it goes back into its case, into the closet. Okay, so let's take a look at the back real quick, just to kind of show you that everything is basically the same. The only thing different between the lack of USBs on the S9. They're 5-volt USBs, so that means you can power your phases, you could run your Rain 12s, you can run a hard drive out of them. You have enough power to handle that. So that is a great addition to this mixer, a much needed addition. On the front panel, there have been some changes. We've lost our 2-band EQ, but we'll talk about this later. We have added the additional Bluetooth module into the system. I want to point out a couple of things just physically speaking. There have been a couple of little modifications on the S9 and on the S11. You have rubber bumpers here, but on the S7, they are plastic. Also, they've opted to go for a new on and off mic switch. It's out of the way, so you can kind of feel for it without really looking. Now we're gonna get to some things that are probably going to annoy a couple of people out there. Now, we have lost our 2-band EQ, which you guys know that I'm a fan of. We have replaced it with a tone, and we've lost our echo. So there's no longer a mic echo on this mixer. If that is one of those things that is a make or break for you, which for a lot of people, you know, before streaming, I would have said that it didn't matter as much, but I can't tell you how many DJs rock that echo all the time. So as far as the difference, if we were to look at the S9 and the S7 together, it would be really hard to tell the difference between the two. Now, the one glaring addition is the split panels for your hot pads. If you were just looking to upgrade your S9, the S7 makes the most sense. As far as the pads are concerned, they feel good. I don't have an issue with the pads. Obviously, we have increased the size of the pads from the S9, but they're still smaller than the pads on the S11. If you move up, you can see the echo, the backspin, all these options are still here, but they have split those out, and we will talk about the reason why in just a few minutes. As far as the paddles are concerned, they feel pretty much the same across the board. Obviously, noticeably missing is the smooth echo. Let's move these guys out of the way and let's talk a little bit about this mixer specifically, because I do like a lot of the features in this mixer, and I think this mixer is going to do very well in the Pioneer lineup. Let's take a look. Like I said before, I don't prefer to compare it to the S11 because although it does have S11 features, it's more of an S9 upgrade. Let's talk a little bit about the Bluetooth, because for some people, they are going to absolutely love it. And for others, they're probably gonna say, why do I even need it? I think I can have an answer for both the people that love it and the people who question the need for it, because there is a place for a Bluetooth module on a mixer like this. First off, very easy to pair. Basically holding down the button till it goes into pairing mode, and your phone, your computer, your iPad, anything with a Bluetooth output should pick it up rather easily. There is no code to put in, no passwords. It just automatically assigns to it and then starts playing directly out of it. If you are a turntablist and you just want to have a beat playing so you can continue to scratch or do your performances without having to plug in Serato, or you want to use vinyl, but you still want to have kind of a looping beat, well, you can go through Bluetooth and play it right through there. The S7 does things a little different, and I actually prefer it this way. So on the Bluetooth, if you hold down the utility, the first panel that you see is your Bluetooth panel. And in Bluetooth, it has your input. Now you can decide to choose master, channel 1, channel 2. Let's say, for instance, you are practicing DJing or practicing scratching, and maybe you are a lefty or a righty. Well, you can choose where you're placing the audio. I can find a use for the Bluetooth option, and anytime I don't have to go into my aux, I will be a happy, happy camper. Let's say, for instance, somebody brings you something and for whatever reason, you forgot your aux. You forgot the headphone jack to RCAs. You're screwed. But now you can go Bluetooth and it'll save the day. So let's talk a little bit about another great point and another questionable point, time will tell point. We have the new Magville Fader Pro, the same faders that are used in the S11, the crossfader, and the crossfader feels absolutely amazing. I'm going to say that the updates that they made to their crossfaders across the board with the S11 and the S7 have been some of my favorite crossfaders. And the only time I felt this precise, in all honesty, was when I was using the Innofader. However, the upfaders are not Magville faders. I'm not sure exactly what they are. They don't feel bad, but they feel a little bit like the SX3s. The travel's good, the fader's fluid, but they are not Magville faders. If you didn't know they weren't Magville faders, I'm not sure that a lot of DJs out there would have been able to spot the difference. We still have scratch bank, which is very, very important. There aren't a lot of mixers that have the scratch bank. The Rain products, the Pioneer products are really the only ones that have it right now. Speaking of scratch bank, a lot of people, when they got their S11 and they were using Rekordbox, were a little frustrated, including myself, because they didn't have scratch bank. Pioneer has been working on their own version of scratch bank. Works very similar, but there is some differences in there, and they call that sample scratch. And you'll be glad to know that if you are a Rekordbox user, the sample scratch will work with this mixer, and it'll work with the S11 when they come out with the update also. The only difference between the way sample scratch works versus sample bank is when you initiate sample scratch and you hit the button to load it, it straight loads the song. And the song starts from the beginning. Unlike Scratch Bank, where you can choose which cue point you want that button to represent, this one starts from the actual part of the song. So there's a little more work. You have to make sure that the scratch record or the scratch compilation that you're using starts at the right place, or because Rekordbox has its own really cool edit mode where you can actually cut up your music to your liking, you can shift things around and put them where you want, put them in the front, and then that way you can use them the way you want. Serato doesn't have edit mode. And I guess that's probably one of the best things about this S7 release. All of the things that we're going to talk about here, either there is a alternative on Rekordbox or it's exactly the same. This is probably the first mixer that had feature parity across the board. For anybody that's considering Rekordbox, or maybe you want to see the difference between Rekordbox versus Serato, this is going to be a great mixer to kind of feel out to see which one you actually want to use. Now let's move over to this middle panel here, which is probably the biggest feature of the bunch. It's the only mixer to have it. Not even the S11 has this feature. Now people have looked and they're saying there's only 3 beat effects and there's only 3 Serato effects. The S9 had 6 on each side. We're getting gypped. Not really. They've made some changes to where they do it. So they've integrated all of the features into the button. So instead of being able to only choose the Serato effects or the beat effects, well now you can mix and match and put them all into one list. When I first saw it, I was a little taken back, and then I realized I don't even use more than 2 or 3 effects at any given time anyway. For me, not that big of a deal. But on this FX Select, we have 3 different types of things. We have beat effects, which is your internal effects mode. These can be changed, of course, in the S7 utility. So if you don't like what you see here, you can modify it to your specifications. Move over to the Serato effects. That's of course exactly the way it sounds. You can use all the effects that you've purchased or the default ones that come with Serato. Moving over to this Midi 1 and MIDI 2. Now this is the new feature. This is the Loop MIDI. And for a lot of people, they're probably going to be a little confused at exactly what it does. Think of Loop MIDI like a macro button, okay? So it's going to take some of the most commonly done things and it's kind of gonna automate them. So if we were to look at what a potential Loop MIDI will do, we're gonna take a look at the actual booklet here. So once you hold down Shift, you'll notice that your lights change. Dark blue, light blue, green, yellow, red, purple. In order to get to MIDI, you would just press the button and then all of these panels would turn green, or MIDI 2 and they would all turn yellow. All of these options change now. So for instance, the Echo plays sampler slot 1. This plays sampler 2, sampler 3, and then hot cue 1, 2, and 3. So it allows you to do things within your normal pads without having to leave your pad. So if you have a sample that you just want to drop real quick, you don't have to get out of your actual cue points. Now, if we shift over to MIDI 2, everything turns yellow, and then we have another series. These are your pitch keys. So if you have a song going, you can just hit this, and it goes up. This one takes you back down. And to reset them, you just hold the Shift and then toggle them back off. Then we have our sensor, which is exactly what it sounds like. Reverse. And then we have our hot cue 1, another sample slot 2, and then this is actually your mute. Cool little feature. Basically it turns it off just like a silent cue. Now what I haven't really discussed is the actual loop part of it. So if we were to go over to say the mute. Now, as you can see under MIDI, it says none, but you can actually adjust these to 4 beats, 2 beats, 1 beat, half beat. And essentially what it's doing is it's turning this off and on. That's a 4th. All of these features will actually do the same thing. So let's go over to our sample slot. Let's go back to MIDI 1. And this is our sample 1. If I hold down this button on sample 1, I'm still in my normal cue points. It's going to attempt, because I'm on half beat, to play it in half, okay? On 1. Now I can lock it in place. Same thing over here. And then that's it. So one of the cool things is I can use them independently or I can use them together, and I can choose all of them to run at the same time. Let's say I wanted to start the beat and have the oh my god running at the same time. Well, simple as that. Now, I'm going to give you a little demo to show you kind of the capabilities, just so you can kind of see some of the cool things you can do. you can see here, there's a lot of capabilities right off the presets, but you're not limited to using the presets. You can modify all of these to suit your needs. This is one of the cool things about this mixer. This is the first mixer that allows you to actually map the paddles. There's no other mixer that I believe can actually do that right now. Now, for people that are obviously missing the screen or thought they wanted the screen and they're concerned that you're not gonna get all of the customization you can with the screen, it's still there. It's just located in the utility, the S7 utility application. There's nothing that you're going to lose by not having the screen. Now, of course, the S11 is a beast. There's a lot of things in there that you're never gonna get on here, for instance, 4-deck mixing. Now, in my limited time of using this, it's felt really, really good. One of the things, and this is gonna sound strange, but one of the things I do like about the S9, the S7, the Rain 70 is sometimes it's good to just kind of get back to fundamentals. Because when you have a S11, you have all these screens and all these functions and all this stuff, sometimes you can get lost in everything and forget about the little things. This forces you to kind of come back down to normal and really focus on just the music. Also, which we haven't discussed, is how much does it cost? Now, this is where a lot of people are going to be shocked, because I've seen some numbers popping up from a couple of videos and their numbers are nowhere close to the number that this is. This mixer is on retail for $13.99. That's right, it's even cheaper than when the S9 came out. So if you're trying to find the best affordable mixer out there, then this is definitely gonna be one that you're gonna wanna take a look at. If you're used to the S9, you're gonna be used to this mixer. Not a lot has changed besides the removal of the other 6 buttons, but I would have liked to have seen a dedicated silent Q button. Oh, and before you ask, there are no split Qs on any of the DJM line. S11, S9, and now S7. We're just gonna have to get used to it. I do like the added features, for instance, like the Bluetooth and the loop Midi, which are both only on this mixer. I'm not the biggest fan of some of the features they removed, but I can work around those. Obviously with the tone, apparently that's where manufacturing is heading across the board for whatever reason. It is what it is. All right, guys, if you found what I said useful, hit that like button. If you found what I said really useful, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you follow me on the Instagrams and Twitters. Get on my Discord. That's where we're talking about all things Cleveland Terry and all things tech DJ related. Information is in the description below. Always a pleasure. If I don't talk to you later, we'll talk soon. Peace.